Excuses are a part of life. They're inevitable. We make excuses for our shortcomings, loved ones, poor performances, etc. But when an excuse is made on behalf of a corporation someone is not a part of, it turns a critic into a shill. The internet is full of shills. Every major critic you watch on YouTube is a shill. Chris Stuckman? Shill. Collider Group? Shills. Kevin Smith? Shill of the century. But I'm not here to talk about them. Yet. I'm here to talk about a very dangerous shill you probably don't know about. Scott Mendelson. Scott Mendelson covers the film industry for Forbes. Now, normally when you think Forbes, you think of the Forbes 400, or a reputable source of financial information. But lately, Forbes has been putting out pure garbage, and it's Scott Mendelson responsible for most of it, in terms of entertainment. Scott has written most of Forbes' Star Wars content in regards to The Last Jedi, and well, he's kind of terrible at it. The only thing Scott Mendelson is truly great at is making excuses for The Last Jedi. Now, I'm not criticizing Scott Mendelson the man, the possible husband or father. No, I'm criticizing Scott Mendelson, the Forbes writer. Scott seems to make sure to tell his audience at every conceivable point Star Wars The Last Jedi was a great film, and that its divisive nature is in no way the fault of Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, or Rian Johnson. It's our fault. We're either too stupid to get it, or too racist to appreciate it, or too conservative to embrace it. You see, Scott Mendelson is like every other limp-dick liberal writer, poisoning the way entertainment is covered in the media. You think I'm reading too much into this? Check this out. In regards to an article titled, 6 Reasons Why Star Wars The Last Jedi May Make $750 million Less Than The Force Awakens, Scott had to sneak this little turd of a sentence in there. This may make The Last Jedi precisely the kind of big-scale blockbuster movie we deserve after the last presidential election. That's for another essay if time permits. First off, Scott, I hope time never permits. If I'm being honest, I hope you get so busy with your head up Disney's ass that you just forget. Are we as a society supposed to be punished for an outcome you don't like? What did Star Wars do to be pushed into this political minefield? When did Star Wars become the poster child for leftist politics? Well, 2015, but that's a topic I've covered in the past. My point is, Star Wars wasn't created as a tool to teach us how to conform. It's been bastardized by a power-hungry woman who lacks creativity. Stop pushing Lucasfilm's narrative, Scott. It seems like every day there's a new reason why a movie making almost $1 billion less and being removed from a country in record time is a good thing. You sound like those frightened people in that episode of The Twilight Zone, It's a Good Life, where the kid has supernatural powers and ruins the world, so the adults tell him that everything he does is good out of fear. That's you, Scott. You're the adults who are afraid of the kid, Disney. Instead of the threat of death or being turned into a human jack-in-the-box, you fear that not championing the cause will get you ostracized from the corporate events, hence making you less relevant than you currently are. I don't want to come off as mean. Well, meaner than I usually am, but upon further inspection, Scott Mendelson hasn't created an interesting or thought-provoking article in months. He just regurgitates the same agenda-driven drivel and doesn't even have the decency to slap a new coat of paint on it. Do I think all these terrible articles could be his honest-to-God opinions? Well, that's entirely possible, but in life everything's a clique, and you don't want to have different opinions of your peers. You want to be just like them. Trendy. But here, trendy isn't enough. Like it said at the beginning of this video, a shill is a salesman attempting to sell a product to an audience, and Scott Mendelson is trying to sell you Star Wars The Last Jedi harder than anyone in America. Oh, $250 million less than its predecessor? Hey, ignore that and go watch the movie. People don't like the new characters? Racists and sexists are to blame. Go and watch the new movie. The film's too deep for idiots? Go and watch the movie again. China dumped it? Go watch the movie again. Except for the Chinese. It's weird that these are the people that studios have chosen to market their films with. How to touch individuals that have only one thought process, progressivism. They aren't very good shills, but they try so hard, and that's what counts in modern times. If anything, Scott Mendelson is a master of deflection. One of his newer masterpieces is titled, You'll Get a Solo Star Wars Story Trailer When Disney Darn Well Feels Like It. And it comes off as one of the most haughty pieces of digital print I've ever seen. Excuse after excuse for Disney fill this terrible article to the brim. His attempts at humor with the title come off as not funny at all, if it was even intended to be a joke in the first place. He's just talking down to his audience again. And that's all I can tolerate of Scott Mendelson. Forbes contributors are just bad these days. Well, Danny DePlacido's article titled, Why I Want Solo a Star Wars Story to Fail has some valid points, so maybe all hope isn't lost. Oh, and one last thing, Scott. Explain this. This guy is just delusional at this point. But this delusion is just like on a whole nother level. Scott Mendelson, every word he writes just seems like a lie. And the weird thing is, when you look at these corporations, or let's look at Lucasfilm. Clearly, money is the underlying factor for them. Disney bought them, Disney wants the money. But Lucasfilm is agenda driven at this point. It's like they're on this kick to make up for Star Wars being a man's or a boy's franchise. So we gotta go back and we gotta change it. So we're gonna make it female led for the next how many movies and years and all this shit. And everyone is gonna just have to accept it because it's Star Wars. And if they don't accept it, they're either not real fans or they're racist or some other horse shit that they're gonna throw out there. And the shills come in to champion this and tell us it's a good thing. These are the same types of people that, if it was scientifically proven 100% that watching The Last Jedi was cancerous and you would get cancer if you saw the film, people like Scott Mendelson would tell you it's worth the risk to experience this great piece of art. And he would go on at great lengths why your health deteriorating is good because Disney's going to pay him for it. Now, maybe they don't pay him directly, but there are perks when you basically tout the party line. You get invited to the party, and you can market your experiences to the layperson, hence making yourself a celebrity in the process or something like that. For example, if we loved Kanye West and we had a music podcast, and we just kissed his ass with his next album, if he even makes music anymore, and we just kept beating it home what a great album it is, and we finally get his attention, and he invites us out to do something good, we're just going to constantly praise all the shit, even if it's not. Our self-interests come first. So we're only interested in advancing ourselves, and that's what this Scott Mendelson guy does. He just can't say anything bad about The Last Jedi. Like I said earlier, if it was proven to give you cancer, he'd find a way to sell you that. Shills are ruining entertainment. I know people have problems with movies and the franchises and stuff like that, and I can see franchise fatigue. I definitely feel Star Wars fatigue. Marvel fatigue is a possibility, especially after Infinity War with Phase 4 starting or ending. I can't remember exactly where we are right now. It's been, 17 movies or something like that, off the top of my head. Seen them all. The point is, that's starting to wind down. Star Wars has overstayed its welcome by 30 years. These people will always be there to tell us there's no fatigue, there's no this, there's no that. It's whatever these businesses or corporations or companies want them to say, they will do it. They're the spokespeople, and they pick the worst spokespeople. Like, let's go look at something like a Billy Mays. He was a pitch man for OxyClean and all that shit, but the dude had energy, blah, 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 and the product sold. I don't know how well it sold, but he was a good idea for a pitch man. He was memorable. Like, when I said Billy Mays, I could hear, "Hi, I'm Billy Mays, blah, 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 blah." Scott Mendelson is like the worst salesman. It's like when you go to buy a stereo, and the guy's like, "Tell me about this and the wattage and blah, blah, blah," and Scott goes to the most expensive Sony that could be a piece of shit. "Oh, but it's so great, it's so great, it's so great, it's so great, it's so great," because he'll get a bonus or he'll get a higher percentage on his thing, and it's just bad. Sony wins, he wins, the audience or the consumer doesn't win. And his whole thing about this is what we deserve for the presidential election pisses me off. That may be the reason why I made this video, because, Scott, you're just a disingenuous dick. In no way do you bring anything interesting or fun or thought-provoking. Like, his latest article's like, "It's a good thing a woman's directing the Mr. Rogers biopic with Tom Hanks. If she's the most qualified individual, fine. But if it's like, if you're just gonna make up for her shortcomings, if there are any, because she's a woman, then you're handicapping her, and you're kind of creating a bigger problem. There's going to be a backlash towards these things. The reason Star Wars can get away with putting Rey in these movies as the lead, or Jyn Erso, or they put some random lady TIE fighter pilot as the lead of Battlefront 2, is because it's Star Wars. It's insulated. It's got 41 years of hype and excitement, and there are billions, I don't know how many people saw the movie, but there are $1.3 billion worth of people in the world that will go see any piece of shit just because it says Star Wars on it. So I'm rambling at this point. I'm worn out from the weekend, my voice is shot, whatever. But I had to talk about Scott Mendelson and shills, and I think I'll do a series called like Shill Wars. We'll do, I don't know, Battle of the Biggest Shill, the Biggest Shill Loser Edition, or some shit like that. There's gonna be a lot of people on these shill lists because, like I said, people like Mundane Matt, Chris Stuckman. I don't know if I'd call Jeremy Johns a shill. I just think he's a bad critic and I don't like him. There are a lot of shills, and if you people would like more, I don't know, shill call-out videos or some shit like that, I'll make them. They're a lot of fun. It's cool to research some of these people's hypocrisy, and it makes an entertaining video for you. So, tell me your thoughts on shills. Who are some of the shills you hate the most? Do you hate, what's-her-face, Grace Randolph from Behind the Screen? She's just vengeful. She shits on Marvel because I think she got fired by Marvel Comics 7 or 8 years ago. And so she's just chilling behind her computer doing stuff. And she might be an ideological shill. But in the comments section, tell me who you'd like me to talk about in relation to the shills. And the ones with the most thumbs up will get a shill video in the future if this is successful. So thank you to everyone who took the time to watch this little video. It was fun to make. I see a lot of Scott Mendelson shit and my blood boils, but I finally feel like this was the cathartic moment to get over all of that. So, thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Share it with Scott Mendelson. Tweet it at him. Find a way to get my voice in his ears. And let's make him squirm a little bit. If you're a fan of this channel, make sure you're subscribed. Hit the little bell notification for all the World Class Bullshitters content I put out throughout the week. Make sure to watch the podcast. And if you're already a super fan and you want to make the plunge, check out our Patreon page. For 17 cents a day, which equates to $5 a month, you get access to all kinds of weekly content, commentaries, behind-the-scenes stuff. You get digital poster. Higher up you go, you get real posters. Hell, if you're a real dedicated patron, you can be on the show. You can suggest commentaries. You can be on said commentaries. There's all kinds of great perks we give you at Patreon. We don't just take the money and then only give you the show or like 5 minutes of something extra. You get countless hours per week of new content. We just put out like a 3-hour video yesterday over on Patreon. One of our guys on the channel, Nick, made a movie, and we talk about it at great lengths and give you all the little dirty secrets about Strip Club Massacre. We got Star Wars commentaries, the prequels, The Force Awakens, the Rogue One, a Star Wars story. That's on there. Ghostbusters 2016, the James Bond stuff debuts first. We got extras, all kinds of great stuff. So, if you're a fan of this channel and you want more, that is the best way to get the most entertainment from us. So, thank you for watching. I'll be back later in the week with more content, and have a good one. Excuses are a part of life. They're inedible. Yeah, inedible.